give you my word with all of my heart. I believe this is the right decision, a wise decision, and the best decision for America. Thank you. Thank you, and may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
President Biden giving powerful remarks, officially ending the 20-year war in Afghanistan, saying this was a mission of mercy. It was never going to extend a forever war or exit from Afghanistan.
And joining us live now via Skype is political consultant Matt Klink. Matt, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We just heard President Biden, this is a historic speech ending a 20-year war. He says, I take responsibility for this. I made a commitment and I honored that commitment. He needed to look presidential today. His confidence numbers are perceived to be down. In your opinion, how did he do today?
I thought today was a horrible speech. He came across as hot and angry and defensive. He's attempting to rewrite history, to talk about does this evacuation from Afghanistan feel like a success? It does not leave anyone feeling good. I think that this is just another example of the administration completely missing the mark on Afghanistan. Nobody disagreed with pulling the troops out, but the overwhelming majority of Americans had significant problems with how it was done and the consistent errors by the Biden administration for the last 7 weeks. And I'm sorry to dump all over the president, but I mean, this was just a terrible speech today. It's not going to make it was not his finest hour.
What would you have liked to have heard him say?
Acknowledge that mistakes were made. I mean, acknowledge that the evacuation wasn't handled as well as it could have been. He said that the buck stops here, yet he proceeded to blame President Trump, the government of Afghanistan, the Afghan security forces. I mean, look, there is going to be a major congressional inquiry because even Democrats realize that this was not handled well. And look, I just think a little bit more humility. And this was not a win for America today. And the war is definitely not over. Even Leon Panetta, former head of the CIA and Secretary of Defense, has said that America will be back there. Yeah. And I just think that it's a completely misjudging of history by the Biden administration.
Well, let's talk a little about the timeline of the withdrawal process. One of the new things that was explained a little bit more was, in criticism of why didn't we get all these people out earlier, not wait till the last minute. President Biden explained that since March, they have reached out to the 5,000 Americans who are living in Afghanistan 19 times with warnings for them to leave. And still, there's 100 to 200 Americans still there that decided not to leave. So what do you make of that?
I think that it is an incredibly difficult decision. And Courtney, I think that there are more than 100 or 200 American citizens on the ground there. And the fact that we had time, look, we left $83 billion of equipment on the ground. The Taliban now has a fleet of Black Hawk helicopters that's larger than the nation of Australia, which, by the way, was able to get all its troops out and all of its people out. So, I mean, again, just lost opportunity. If we had kept the Bagram Air Force Base open, it was secure with multiple runways. We could have done this over a longer period of time. And you know what? When he said that it was a unanimous decision of the administration, that's a problem, because there should never be unanimous decisions. There should always be dissenting voices in the room so that the president gets multiple perspectives on a difficult decision like this. And I think that his national security team deserves a lot of criticism if this was the best that they could come up with.
In terms of underestimating the Taliban.
In terms of underestimating the Taliban, in terms of underestimating al-Qaeda, in terms of underestimating ISIS-K, in terms of not communicating with America's allies about the expedited pullout, And in terms of how poorly the decisions that were made to not hold Kabul, which the Taliban said was an option, to abandon Bagram Air Force Base, and to keep Hamid Karzai International Airport, which had only one functioning runway, which made us literally captive to the Taliban. I mean, there will be books written about this the last 7 weeks.
Matt Klink, we have 100 questions to ask you, but we are going to have to wrap it up. Obviously, looking to the future, if you can just give us a 15-second answer in terms of political and up in terms of with Democrats and Republicans, what's the next step for Biden?
Refocus on domestic politics, and hopefully that Congress is not focused on Afghanistan. There is still the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and there's the massive $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. That's where Biden's legacy will be written. He wants Afghanistan to go away as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be in the news for a while.
Well, I'm sure the pollsters are already on the phone asking people what they thought of today's speech, which will be in the history books for sure. Matt Klink, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks to you both. Bye-bye.